What does Sabbath rest have to do with our relationship to Jesus? Today is day 5 of this week's lesson, in which we learn the value of what God did for us in terms of rest. Our key text this week is found in Genesis 2, verse 3, the New King James Version, and it reads, "Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." This again is found in Genesis 2, verse 3, the New King James Version. The title of today's lesson is Another Reason to Rest. Israel is camped on the eastern side of the Jordan. They have taken possession of the land of the kings of Bashan and 2 kings of the Amorites. Once again, at this crucial point, Moses calls the new generation of Israelites together and remind them that the covenant made at Mount Sinai was not just for their parents, but for them also. He then goes on to repeat the 10 Commandments again for their benefit. Here, we compare Exodus 20, 8 through 11, and Deuteronomy 5, 12 through 15 to determine the difference in the way the Sabbath Commandments was expressed in them. I'm reading first Exodus 20, verse 11, and it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." Okay, now I'm reading Deuteronomy 5, 12 through 15. And it says, "Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day." In Exodus 20, verse 8, the commandment begins with the word remember. In Deuteronomy 5, verse 12, it begins with the word observe. This is the New King James Version. The word remember comes a bit later in the commandment in Deuteronomy 5, verse 15. In this verse, they're told to remember that they are slaves. As a descendant of slaves, this hits home. Although this generation has grown up free, they would all have been born in slavery were it not for God's miraculous rescue. The Sabbath commandment was to remind them that the same God that was active in the creation story was also active in their deliverance. The Lord your God brought you out from there with a strong arm and outstretched, with a strong hand and outstretched arm. This truth fits the then current circumstances of the Israelites standing for a second time at the borders of the promised land, some 40 years after the first generation failed so miserably. They were as helpless in conquering this land as their forefathers were in escaping from Egypt. They needed this God who acts with a strong hand and outstretched arms. Similarly, today, we are as helpless in conquering this world of sin as our foreparents were in being released from slavery. We need the God of the Israelites who act with a strong hand and outstretched arms to free us from the slavery of a sin-sick world. For this new generation, the Sabbath is about to take on an added dimension. Because God is the God of liberation, Israel is to keep the Sabbath day. That is Deuteronomy 5:15. Of course, creation is not far away from the Sabbath commandment. Even in Deuteronomy chapter 5, despite the added reason to keep it, the liberation of Israel, in a sense, the liberation of Israel out of the land of Egypt is the starting point of a new creation, similar to the creation story in Genesis. Israel, as a liberated people, is God's new creation. And because the Exodus is seen as a symbol of freedom from sin, that is redemption, we can find in the Sabbath a symbol of both creation and redemption. Hence, no, the Sabbath does not redeem us, but in a very real sense, the Sabbath points to Jesus, our creator and our redeemer. So in other words, the Sabbath is a symbol of our redemption from sin. John 1 through 13, John 1 through 13 takes us back to the beginning and identifies Jesus not only as our Redeemer, but also as our Creator. And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was made that nothing was made that was made. Let me read that again. It says, all things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of man. And the light shined in darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came for a witness to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. He was not the light, but he was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which gives light to every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, The world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But many as received him, to them he gave the right to become the children of God, to those who believed in his name, who were born not of the blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. As our Creator and Redeemer, Jesus appointed the seventh-day Sabbath as a time for us to rest and be reminded that he is our Creator. If he created us, he can redeem us from sin and recreate us. Thus, we have another reason to rest. This concludes today's lesson on the rhythms of rest. If you would like to review a copy of the lesson, you can obtain it at ssnet.org, that is ssnet.org. Click on Adult SS and select Weekly Lesson. Stay tuned tomorrow as we learn about the significance of keeping the Sabbath as an element of rest. My prayer for you is that you will have a blessed and wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow.